think there are a lot of misconceptions about Jewish humor. And I want to start just by giving you my take on that, and then I'd like to tell you some of my favorite jokes. But one misconception is that Jewish humor can best be understood as laughter through tears, that somehow it's suffering of persecution, and pogroms, and concentration camps, and so on, that is distilled into humor. And I think if you look at the humor that came from those periods, from Eastern Europe in the late 19th century, or the jokes that were circulated in concentration camps, it's not very funny. And I think the truth is that it's when a people feels safe and secure and is well fed and has a kind of surplus of energy that the humor is the best. I think this makes sense. Anyway, this is one point. I think the very best Jewish jokes actually begin to appear in the 1950s, 50s and 60s. They're not the real old ones. The real old ones, I'm going to tell you one and you'll see what I mean. It'll bring a smile to your lips, but it's not really funny. Okay, so that's one misconception. Another one is that everyone knows that Jewish humor is very often self-deprecating. But I think it's a mistake to think that a self-deprecating joke is a genuine, earnest expression of self-criticism. And I want to give you a great example. The ultimate self-deprecating joke, you probably heard of it, is a telegram that Groucho Marx sent to a club he had joined. He said, come on in. Just going to wait till people have settled down. I like to have everybody looking at me when I tell a joke. Okay. So, famous telegram Groucho Marx sent to a club he had joined. Gentlemen, please accept my resignation. I don't want to belong to any club that would have someone like me as a member. Okay? This is a classic. Now, if you just think of it, what it says on the surface, you'd think, okay, well, here's somebody who's really very critical of himself. But let me tell you how that joke arose. Groucho Marx was persuaded by a friend of his to join a club, the Friars Club, which is a club for entertainers in Hollywood. He didn't want to join, but his friend kept pressing him, and finally he went along. And he went to some of the functions at this club, and he hated it. He saw that the guys who, when they were playing cards with each other, they cheated on each other. They were bragging about how they were sleeping with each other's wives, and he couldn't stand these guys. So he stopped going to the club. And the club started sending delegations to his home, asking him to, what's wrong? Why aren't you coming? And he would say things like, well, I just don't have time. I can't find time for it. But they kept coming. Finally, he sent this telegram, and they left him alone. They could see that he was more than their match. So here's an example where something that appears to be self-deprecating is actually an expression of, well, feeling superior to certain people. I think it's important to distinguish between pretending to be self-deprecating and actually being critical of oneself. Or the same applies to other stereotypes that we'll be talking about. The stereotypes in Jewish jokes, whether it's a self-deprecating Jew like Woody Allen saying he's one of the few men who has penis envy, right? Whether it's a self-deprecating Jew or the Jewish mother or the Jewish husband or the rabbi, whatever, remember, these are not earnest confirmations of the stereotypes. They're making fun of the stereotypes. They're playing with and parodying the stereotypes. Is this okay? This is the serious part of my talk. Now that's over. Now I'm going to tell you some really great jokes. All right, this is the ultimate Jewish mother joke. Grandmother is walking along the beach with her 3-year-old grandson, and a wave crashes up on the beach and carries the little boy out to sea. The grandmother is desperate. She turns to the heavens and says, please, God, send the boy back. I'll do anything. I'll become the best person. I'll pray in the synagogue 3 times a day. I'll give charity to the poor. Just send the boy back. The very next moment, another wave carries the boy back onto the beach. And the grandmother looks at him, and she turns to the heavens and says, he had a hat. And of course, the stereotype is that nobody can please a Jewish mother, right? Not even God making a miracle. Or another one, a son phones his mother. Hi, Mom, how are you doing? I'm not feeling so good. Oh, what's the matter? Feeling very weak. Well, why are you feeling weak? I haven't eaten anything in 30 days. Well, why haven't you eaten anything in 30 days? I didn't want to have any food in my mouth in case you should foam. Using guilt to control the child. Then there's the wonderworking rabbi. In a little village in Poland, the caretaker of the synagogue, Kirkobicient, died. And the men of this village were desperate, but they had heard that in a neighboring village there was a wonderworking rabbi who could bring people back to life. So they went to get him, and they persuaded him to come to their village and bring the caretaker back to life. So they led the rabbi to the corpse, and the rabbi looked at him and said, all right, bring me a bottle of red wine. They brought him the bottle, drinks the wine, and he goes, I better put this down. He goes, arise from the dead, I command you. Nothing happens. Rabbi says, all right, bring me a bottle of champagne. Bring him the champagne. He empties the bottle once again. Arise from the dead, I command you. Again, nothing happens. He says, all right, bring me a bottle of vodka. Drinks the whole bottle of vodka. Once again, arise from the dead, I command you. Nothing happens. The rabbi says, that's what I call being really dead. Okay. You know, the 10 Commandments are on 2 tablets, but they were originally on only 1 tablet. And God took this tablet to various peoples. So he took the tablet to the Germans. Excuse me. Took the tablet to the Germans and said, would you like this tablet with my commandments? And the Germans said, well, it all depends. What do they say? And God said, well, among other things, thou shalt not kill. The Germans said, you've got the wrong people. So you're supposed to laugh now. So God went to the French. Would you like this tablet with my commandments? French said, well, depends. What did it say? Well, shall not commit adultery. The French said, oh boy, you better try somebody else. So finally, God tried the Jews. Would you like this tablet with my commandments? The Jews said, it all depends. What does it cost? God said, it's free. The Jews said, we'll take 2. Okay. Here's an Israeli joke about Israelis. There are 4 guys standing on a street corner. Just going to wait a moment. Four guys standing on a street corner. An American, a Chinese person, a senior moment. American, Chinese, Russian, and an Israeli, of course. And a CNN reporter goes over to them and says, excuse me, what is your opinion of the meat shortage? And the American says, what's shortage? And the Russian says, what's meat? And the Chinese person says, what's opinion? And the Israeli says, what's excuse me? Okay. Jewish husband. Little boy comes home from school. Mommy, Mommy, I got a part in the school play. Oh, really? What kind of part did you get? I play a Jewish husband. Oh, don't worry, dear. Maybe next year you'll get a talking role. This is the ultimate meaning of life joke about the rabbi, the dying rabbi. There are a number of dying rabbi jokes where the rabbi gives the last word of wisdom. So this beloved rabbi is dying. He's surrounded by his disciples. And the head disciple leans down to the rabbi and says, please, Rabbi, before you leave us, give us one last word of wisdom. And the rabbi's eyes begin to flicker, and his lips begin to move. And he manages to whisper, life is like a glass of tea. And the head disciple repeats this to the other disciples. Life is like a glass of tea. And they try to interpret it, and to decode it and understand its hidden meaning. And they can't. And they're afraid he's going to die, and they won't understand what this means. So the head disciple leans down again to the rabbi and says, Rabbi, we're trying to understand. We can't understand. What does that mean? Life is like a glass of tea. Again, Rabbi's eyelids flicker, his lips begin to move, and he manages to say, all right, so life isn't like a glass of tea. An Obama joke. Obama's heard that the Jews know before anybody else just what's going on. And he asks his advisors in the CIA, how did they do that? How come they always know what's going on? And the advisor says, well, it's very easy. One Jew goes over to another Jew and he says, what's going on? And it's all by word of mouth, and that's how they keep each other informed. So Obama has himself dressed up like an Orthodox Jew with a fake beard and a black hat and coat, and gets flown to New York and then driven to an Orthodox section of Brooklyn. And he goes over to another guy who's dressed just like him, and he says, what's Tootsie? And the guy says, I hear Obama's in Brooklyn. All right. You people aren't really very big at laughing, are you? My last joke, and this a little louder? Okay. My last joke. And this is a joke about peace, which is one of the themes of the festival. A CNN reporter has heard that in Jerusalem, at the Wailing Wall, the Western Wall, there's a man who's been praying there every day for 60 years. And she sees him and goes over to him with her microphone, says, is it true, sir, that you've been praying at this wall for 60 years? Yes, I've been praying here for 60 years. And I ask, what is it that you pray for? Well, I pray that Jewish and Palestinian children will play with each other like brothers and sisters. I pray that Christians and Muslims and Jews of Israel will learn to live with one another in harmony and peace. I pray that all the peoples of the region will have prosperity and happiness. And the CNN reporter says, and how do you feel, sir, after praying for these things for 60 years? Like I've been talking to a fucking wall.